What's going on, guys? This is Sam, and today Apple released iOS 11.4 after weeks of beta testing to everyone. You can get the new firmware right now on your iPhone, iPad, or even 6th generation iPod Touch in Settings, General, and Software Update. There are some big changes in this update, but honestly, a lot of it is left over from what Apple promised iOS 11 would be getting a year ago, all the way back at WWDC 2017. So let's go ahead and jump in. So arguably, the biggest change in iOS 11.4 is support for AirPlay 2. This allows you to play the same song in every room of your home on any AirPlay 2 compatible speakers, or a different song in every room, and control everything from your iPhone on iOS 11.4. You get a centralized interface that looks like this, a little bit confusing at times, but it also supports stereo for the HomePod. This is another feature that Apple said would be coming, and it's finally here with iOS 11.4. If you own the HomePod speaker, you can go to the Home app to update that software to HomePod 11.4. I'm not exactly sure what that's called. And with AirPlay 2, there's also going to be support for other speakers as well, like Sonos Ones and a few other Sonos products, in addition to pretty much any other third-party manufacturer that now wants to integrate the AirPlay 2 framework with any of their smart speakers. So it should be really great for everybody. AirPlay 2 has a lot less latency, I've noticed, than AirPlay 1, and I really like it. Following that, we have the feature that I am most excited to see in iOS 11.4, and that is Messages in iCloud. This is another feature like AirPlay 2 that Apple talked about a long time ago, and they're only shipping it almost 365 days after it was first announced. Messages in iCloud stores all your iMessages, all your normal text messages inside of iCloud, so that whether you're on your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, Apple Watch, maybe even the Apple TV, everything is all synced up, so you're always going to have the latest text messages and all of your text messages on all of your devices, and it's worked great from my experience. I've only been beta testing it on my iPhone for iOS 11.4, but with the latest version of macOS 10.13, should work really great there as well. And you can see when you try to delete a message now on iOS 11.4, it says, note, you will be deleting this on all of your devices. So it's nice that it gives you a heads up in case you wanted to just delete it on your iPhone. You can't do that anymore. If you have it enabled in settings, it will sync all of your messages together, so deleting something on your iPhone would hypothetically delete it from your iPad and Mac as well. Next up, if you have an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 8 Plus running iOS 11.4, even if it is not the product red variant, you do get the new official red product red wallpaper. It's got some yellow and orange and red streaks, and I think it looks really good against that stark black background. I actually argue that it looks best on the iPhone 10 with the OLED true black display, because it has the capability to show that, but it does also look great on the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus. If you don't have one of those devices, it's not included in your version of the settings app for iOS 11.4, but of course, if you're interested in downloading the wallpaper for yourself, you can head over to the first link down below in the description. It'll shoot you over to my website, and you can go ahead and download the wallpaper there. Now, there are some other smaller changes in iOS 11.4, and we'll jump into those in just one second, but the last big change in the update is a new framework for developers called ClassKit. ClassKit is a new framework that allows developers to integrate their third-party apps with a new first-party app from Apple called Schoolwork. So if you're not a student or teacher or administrator at a school, you'll probably never interact with this or use this, but if you're at the grade school, high school, or even maybe collegiate level, there's a chance that you could actually use Schoolwork to communicate back and forth with your teachers or professors, and it's a really great idea. Just like third-party developers such as Philips Hue and LifeX use the HomeKit framework to integrate their apps with the first-party app Home made by Apple, the exact same thing can now be done by developers with educational apps using the ClassKit framework to integrate it with Apple's first-party application Schoolwork. So those are the four biggest changes in iOS 11.4, but I want to jump straight over the changelog now to read off some other improvements and fixes that Apple has included in iOS 11.4. First, enables teachers to assign their students reading activities in iBooks using the Schoolwork app. Fixes an issue where certain character sequences could cause messages to crash. This is likely referring to the black dot bug that popped up just recently. This one's huge. Addresses a messages issue that could cause some messages to appear out of order. Even on iOS 11.2, I think Apple said they fixed it. They definitely claimed to fix it on iOS 11.3, but thousands of users kept having issues even on the latest version of iOS. So in iOS 11.4, out of order messages should hopefully finally for good be fixed in this update. Addresses an issue that could cause preventing logging in or accessing files on Google Drive, Google Docs, and Gmail and Safari. iOS 11.4 fixes an issue that could prevent data syncing in Health, and fixes an issue that could prevent users from changing what apps could access health data. Resolves an issue that could cause an app to appear in an incorrect location on the home screen. That was a really fun random glitch where apps would just appear in random spots. Fixes a CarPlay issue where audio could become distorted. And finally, iOS 11.4 fixes an issue where selecting music from your iPhone could fail when playing music over Bluetooth or when connected to USB on some vehicles. And as always, there were some other security changes as well, but at the time of recording this video, about 17 minutes after iOS 11.4 dropped for everyone, Apple has not yet to update the Apple security website. So if you want to see all those changes, I will link them down below in the description in a blog post over on my website. However, there is one really important security change in iOS 11.4 that I do want to highlight. There's basically this new iPhone passcode cracking box known as Gray Key. Pretty exclusive, hard to find, but if you are in law enforcement, you have the ability to obtain it. You can connect an iPhone, iPad, pretty much any Lightning-enabled device to it, and it will then sit there for hours, minutes, days on end to crack the passcode and get into your device. So of course, the best way to counteract this is to use a ridiculously complex passcode like alphanumeric. But for example, I have the 6 standard digit passcode enabled on my iPhone. In iOS 11.4, Apple will disable the USB port for anything other than charging after 7 days of being plugged in continuously. Now, 7 days sounds a little bit long. I feel like this device could likely crack a passcode in that amount of time, but 7 days is the limit now, and the Lightning port on your iPhone will be disabled for everything other than charging after being plugged in continuously for 7 days, which I think is a good change nonetheless, even if the time period is a little bit long. So that's what's new in iOS 11.4. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the update down below. Are you loving it? Are you enjoying it? What features are you using already, and have you updated your iPhone? iOS 12 Beta 1 is just around the corner. WWDC 2018, where Apple announces all the latest versions of iOS, macOS, tvOS, and watchOS, is now just under 1 week away. In less than 7 days or 6 days now, we will have our hands on iOS 12 Beta 1. So if you enjoyed watching, if you learned something new, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, hit subscribe for more videos on iOS and specifically iOS 12 in the future. If you want to help support the channel, you can head over to patreon.com/update and support the channel there. That would be incredible. Or buy a t-shirt at shop.iupdateos.com. I've been Sam. I hope you're doing great. Get excited for iOS 12, and I'll talk to you in my next video.